We see it in finance, where a company called Knight Capital, they were a well-respected trading firm, they lost $500 million in half an hour because of a series of small mistakes in their technology. That's a lot, even for Wall Street. We see it in the airlines, right? Whether it's BA or Porter or Southwest or Delta or United, where they have problems where their whole fleets of planes are grounded, not because of problems with their pilots or their passengers or their airplanes, but because of problems with their reservation systems. Somebody trips over a cord, or there's a fire in a data center and the backup's not working right, or there's just kind of some breakdown that we never really hear what the reason was. It happens also in public sector systems. I'm from Washington State. I live in Seattle. And in Washington State, the state released 3,000 inmates early by accident. They didn't serve their complete sentences. And that was because they had a problem in the database software that managed their prisoners. They had released, I mean, it's just crazy, for 10 years, and then it took them a while to fix it once they even found the problem. And Hawaii, right? We all know this story. Somebody clicked the wrong button. It was in a drop-down menu. But not only did they click the wrong button, not only did they make that mistake, they couldn't pull it back for 40 minutes, right? So people were, rightfully traumatized by this. So these things all have this kind of thing in common that we talked about. Small errors cause big failures. They kind of snowball into these big problems. But when we looked a little bit deeper, we found that there was kind of a deeper truth to this as well. And we looked at research from kind of an unlikely person to study this. He was a sociologist from the 1970s, 1980s, and he looked at things like 3 Mile Island. And what he kind of came up with really this formula for disaster. So when he looked at systems failures, he saw that if systems were complex and what he called tightly coupled, they were in this, what we call the danger zone. And so what do I mean by complexity? In this context, complexity means that the system looks a lot like a web. There's a lot of different pieces that connect. And it's also hard to see inside. It's hard to understand what's going on inside the system. That, in a nutshell, is complexity. Tight coupling, it sounds like a really kind of fancy term. It's borrowed from engineering. But basically what it means is there's not a lot of margin for error. So when you combine these two things, when you have complexity and tight coupling, you end up in this danger zone. And in the 1980s, when Charles Perrow, when this sociologist studied it, there were basically not a lot of systems in this danger zone. It was nuclear power, it was big industrial systems, it was things like the space shuttle. But now, we see this kind of dynamic in many, many places. We see it in finance, we see it in healthcare, we see it in transportation, aviation, driverless cars, for example, and we also see it in our homes. And so what was once a really niche problem, we think is now a much more pressing concern.